What up, gamers? We've got a fun one for you to start off the week, and that is going to be Esper Blink versus Domain Zoo here. I, of course, am NanMans, and we are back with some more modern action as always. And if you've watched any of my MTGO videos that come out on Saturdays, you know how much I am annoyed by the Domain Zoo list. I don't know. It's I'm not going to get into why the decks annoy me. They're not for me. But that's the fun part of Modern, is there's so many cool and fun decks that exist that it's like, okay, how, do you want to play? What style do you want to play? And that's kind of the fun things about it. But we get to see losing quite a bit of life. We've seen a lot of Esper on the channel lately. We've got a lot of Esper control going around. Now we've got some Esper Blink stuff, but the fetch, shock, thought, seize, and we're left with quite a bit of scary stuff here. So, of course, a Ragavan, Leyline Binding, Consign, and then, of course, our Sign of Draco here. So, big power stuff. I mean, Leyline Binding is scary, but that can't be cast yet. Consign, not really something we're worried about. So it's like the debate. Okay, what is like? Am I getting rid of this? What am I? What are we getting rid of here? The Draco is scary too because it's like hard to interact with, but the monkey is the play. So many games has kind of been able to snowball off the back of a monkey, but Stubborn Denial. So let's see.
Don't make him fall.
Right now it's looking all right. So Sire, Vondum, Sunstar Exemplar. So starting to learn how this card works. I've liked this card a lot in my kind of Esper Blink list. Vigilant, it's Menace. It's if I'm sitting here and using Felia or Flicker Wisp or Ephemerate, we're starting to be able to get access to a little bit of extra fun by getting +1 counters on it. But on the other side, of course, we've got our Kavu, which is going to start getting a little big and scary. But we do get to see Overlord of the Bailmark coming down, and you're going to be trying to cause problems here. But so Frog, a Quantum Riddler, and another Exemplar. So get the options here. Yeah, grab the Quantum. I mean, both. I think that's it's like Quantum Riddler or Psychic Frog. Both are going to be good. It is a 2/2 Kavu, so we send 2 across the board. That Vigilance and Menace can't block. Don't have to worry. And then doing our best to try to remember to tick down the Overlord, because there's definitely going to be some like learning curves. I think this was the first week that I had picked up and played the Esper Blink list. I would say it is probably. I'm known for having a lot of blue-based decks and a lot of just sort of, fun decks, right? We've seen a lot of me playing Lander Control lately. I've played, Splinter Twin and Jeskai controls and Blue-White Control and Miracles and, just like sort of fun stuff. We even have Simic Harden Scale, so like I'm, enjoying the blue stuff. But this is, I think, kind of the most meta deck that I currently have that I've been playing and piloting and enjoying. But even then, it's like running very specific cards in there that are ones that I'm like, yeah, this is not stock list stuff. Like the Servandum is one of those that it's just like, okay, that's interesting that you're choosing to run that, but I don't know. I like doing weird things. I like trying out new things that I feel like have good synergies together and just sort of, do the fun stuff here. But we see our Domain Zoo player kind of sitting here and getting themselves set up. Both of us are kind of in this like grindy mode, right? Of just sort of like, that's the thing about the Esper Blink list. It is the super grindy and designed to kind of like, let's drag the game out a little bit and just kind of, slowly build up this attritional value engine here and just sort of go from there.
Drawing him, and I was like, all right.
I can like see stock up on stock.
All right, Surveil, Trigger.
Draw so hard.
Yeah, draw. We've got access to the plane, so that means that of course, Leyline Binding is available.
Combat.
Attack Trigger, exile the Frog. So here was the learning curve of going, okay, does that cause Sire Vondum to trigger? And we thought yes, but then it was like, oh no, wait, it's specifically whenever creature you control. So, right, cards in the graveyard don't count towards that. So there is that element. Yeah, so we did get the check. Again, that's part of the fun of playing new cards and learning, right? How does this work exactly? You know, also that art for that is sweet. I need to get a second one of that art because I have one, as you can see, of the regular art and one of that kind of cool, like, I don't know, moon or planet or something in the background there. Like, it's such cool art. All right, flashing in the doggo on the end step there.
Yeah.
And then we'll fetch down to 8. All right, Felia, amazing. A little bit of doggo here. It does, of course, exile other permanents, including, you know, if there's a bunch of blockers in the way, we can get rid of our opponent's stuff, or we can exile things like that Overlord of the Balemark, and then it is able to come back as a creature. So, like, we get a lot of little, like, flexibility with it. And, you know, at first I was like, I don't know how much, like, the doggo is really necessary, and then playing it, and then we pitch one into the graveyard there. You know, how much it's really necessary? It is very necessary. It's very powerful and very useful here. So let's take a look and see what we get to do this turn. All right, warping in the Quantum Riddler. We've been seeing a bit of warp effects here. You know, definitely some good cards from the set itself making waves in Modern. This is one of them. You can just go for the pure, like, blue-white flicker style of play, which I've been seeing some players go. You can go for, like, the Esper style. I'm liking the Esper style, but Quantum Riddler, we're going to, of course, draw a card.
Oh, okay, so that means they at least liked your resume or whatever you submitted.
And then we'll be able to kind of start moving to combat and have Felia blink it. So, of course, the warp is until the end of turn, and then it's going to disappear, right? But with access to, you know, blink effects, we are able to kind of... All right, so here we go. Doing some triggering. Blink the Quantum Riddler. Trigger. Now, because we did control it and it left the battlefield, then our Servondum does get to grow a little bit bigger. So that's, of course, 5 damage coming across there. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, Leyline Bindings gets rid of that. So our goal is to try to build that up and get it to enough counters, because if it has 4 power, it does turn into a Vindicate when it dies or exiled. So, all right, taking 2, going to 13. Yeah, so we're checking when the counter comes in. When does it? So it's specifically the beginning of the next end step. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it entered under your control, put a +1 counter on Felia. Ooh, all right. So this is the learning the deck and being a little greedy here. Trying to, like, really go for big, overwhelming, just like, all right, let's try to close out the game here. And so we play the Flicker Wisp here and flicker this Overlord of the Balemark. Trying to go to the end step to return these from exile, and this is where we get blown out. So if we had just been patient and waited, you know, we would have been better off. So now the consign, those stay in exile and do not get to return, which sucks, right? You go, oh, we went, like, all in on this kind of overwhelmingness. So I think that is one of those nuanced things of learning lines and learning sequencing of decks, of just going, hey, you have a Quantum Riddler that's a 4/6. That's really scary. I think that's good enough. I think you could just kind of ride that and the slow trickle over the Overlord, and then maybe next turn, if you need to, you can be able to do some more Overlord stuff. Because that, if we had done it differently there, right, Consign would have just kept Quantum Riddler at bay. 4 coming across here. Do we go for the blocks? Now, the Domain Zoo does have burn spells available, so that is the debate. And, like, okay, do we let it happen? Are we fine with it? Like, you know, that sort of, maybe we are, maybe we're not. Yeah, a lot more debating and thinking. Again, that's part of, like, learning new decks, right? You don't necessarily want to rush in and try to think through all the lines the best that you can. Just confirming, like, that the consign is able to target more than, like, new targets, instead of being like, oh, I can consign the same spell multiple times. Like, most often you'll see consign triggers against, like, Eldrazi's and things like that, but all right, big debating in the tank a little bit here. Oh, Emperor Bones is pretty nice, though, because you can adapt at instant speed. Yeah, so the creatures that get reanimated have haste, and you have to sack them at the beginning of the end step. So some lists are running a lot more Emperor of the Bones. I'm currently running 2 of in my list. I think you could again run more of them, but depends on which flavors and which ways you're going about it. Because I'm also running the Sir Vondums, it's like, I don't know. You get it. You have to make those choices. All right, Sir Vondum's going to come on Emperor of the Bones. That'll come back. Sending those across. I mean, the Sir Vondum's has Vigilance, but it's about to get Blink, so it doesn't really matter. All right, Blink that. 2 coming across, which is fine, right? Just little chip damage. There is another Leyline in hand, though. All right, end step. This will be able to come back. Put a trigger on Arfelia. All right, here's one of the most annoying cards that exist. Is this little Doorkeeper Thrall. Artifacts and creatures enter the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. So, when you are trying to have, like, Overlord of the Bailmark flash in, or Quantum Riddler, Flicker Wisp, Solitude, all those no longer get those abilities. Where the ETB effects, nope, do not actually get to trigger. It does help if you're trying to cast things like, a Flage, and you go, all right, this Flage I don't have to sacrifice, and I'll still get the Helix on the attack triggers. It's like it doesn't shut off attack triggers, just ETB effects. So that Thrall is really good. Also, why there's consigns and stuff like that in the deck, main board, and those sort of effects. All right, let's see. Ooh, okay, exerting. Bringing out this Scion, but making sure we're tapping correctly. So we've got mountain, forest, island, plains. All right, big beats. Exiling Felia. Still a 4/4 with trample and first strike. That's gross. All right, so the 4 flying across here is... Yeah, so here we go. Throwing some blockers in the way. Basically just absorbs the hits. These 2 will die, but that means that 2 counters will go on Servandum, will gain 2 life, take 1 off of the Thrall, go to 4 total. And now Servandum has 4 power, so if it was to, be blinked or destroyed or any of those effects, it would trigger and we could vindicate something. So opponent has 1 card left. We're going to try to play Ketramos. Oh, yeah. So yeah, some of the lists that are running around aren't on the Ketramos anymore. I like the Ketramos. I think it's cool. Adds a little bit more elements to it. So there are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in exile. So the debate about whether or not to play the last card in hand, which is an Ephemerate here. The Ephemerate would cause us to bring the beats. Yeah, so with Servandum and Ketramos, right, we would normally lose a life and draw a card, but Servandum does trigger and say you gain life and put a +1 counter. So we basically just draw a card for free, and no life loss takes place there. Net 0, that's the cool stuff. When I saw that, was like, oh, this seems like it would be amazing in this sort of list. All right, so that's why I'm testing out and running 2 of. I don't know. I think it's super cool. End step. This will come back. Now we have another land. All right. All right. Here's the challenge here. We have a way to deal with the Scion. Ketramos can block the Kavu if it was going to come, but it's not. So we're going to attempt to Ephemerate Servandum here. So this will cause it to blink out of existence. It has 4 greater power, so we get to get rid of the Scion of Draco. The Leyline Binding is going to get rid of it, and it'll cancel out. We'd still be able to do that, but it would trigger Ketramos. We would lose a life and draw a card, but the Bolt was there anyway, so we didn't know about the Bolt, but we were dead no matter what there. But when I was going back through and watching it, I was like, oh, we would have survived, because it doesn't matter how it got exiled or destroyed. The fact that it did, like the Servandum did leave because of Leyline Binding, we would have killed the Scion of Draco. Blinked, would have gone to 3, or draw a card off Ketramos, gone to 3. Then we would have taken 1 off of the Thrall, right? Gone to 2, and if there was no Bolt, we would have been okay. But it is what it is. All right, so Thoughtseize is going to come down here. We see a Leyline Binding to kind of support that Leyline of the Guild Pack. Oh, and there's the monkey. Ragavan, very much a problem card. Anything that can kind of like get underneath of a deck is going to be a big deal. So Servandum's going to come out. Vigilance and Menace. The monkey's there. We'll see if we do go for a trade or not. Of course, we know there's a Bolt, which is probably, yep, there it is. Going to answer that right away. Send the 2 across. And, ooh, a Ketramos.
Well, I don't exile many cards.
Our domain player says, I don't exile many cards. I don't need that. Keep that in exile. Maybe that'll become relevant later on with just, because again, you need 7 cards in exiles. There's 3 Ketramos in the list, so who knows. But Treasure Token going to get set up here. All right, down to 12. Again, we've talked about the 3-color lists are just so aggressive, but Teferi sideboard action coming in here. Going to bounce. We're going to get a little bit of a response, though. Yeah, a little bit fast on the, hey, I'm going to play this Teferi, because response to the cast, we've got our fetch land here.
So, on cast.
But this is a lot of resources getting out of the hand, and also putting the ley line back in is going to make a big deal. So Doorkeeper Thrall is going to come out. And that just was confirming that it does not impact Planeswalkers, which it does not. That's where the Clarion Conqueror comes in. But Doorkeeper Thrall does shut down all the other stuff.
They don't get the ETB, but they don't sacrifice.
So we did confirm, okay, how does that work with Evoke? And so, they do, if you pitch something for the Evoke, they will be able to enter, but they won't have to be sacrificed. So you can cheat them in that way, but you won't get the ETB of the exile effect with Solitude. All right, a ley line and a guild pack. Double ley lines. One's guild pack, one's binding. One at Teferi, 2 at face. Make a treasure. Oh, check that out. Another fun little sideboard stuff. I love me some Sheldred's Edict. I've got that and Strategic Betrayal in my sideboard of these just sacrifice effects. But if there's going to be, Kappa Cannoneers and stuff like that, having that in is nice. But it's also great against an Eldrazi player or something like that you're just oh, I need a better way to answer what you're doing. So, all right, we gotta find an answer to the Ragavan. Relic doesn't really do much. All right, the fetch debate about are we shotgun? Are we getting a triome? Because domain lists do run usually a 1 of triome. Some of them are will do 2. It depends on how greedy you want to be with your mana base, because tap lands aren't as great, especially with just being able to have the triome stuff. But you also get access to surveil lands now, and so we're going to pop both of them in response to the surveil trigger. Let's get the triome, and then we've got our surveil trigger on top that now gets to resolve. So those fun little sequencing things we talk about all the time. So one of the players came, what are you even doing over here? And it's oh, I'm playing Ketramos and Servandum, All right, so here's what we were talking about. The Flage is going to come down here. No ETB, so don't have to sacrifice it. And also, it does have the attack trigger that we have to worry about next turn. Send in 1. Pop the relic, let's draw a card, exile all the stuff, see if we can get something worthwhile. All right, get ready for some mistakes. All right, Solitude, pitching this Flicker Wisp. Try to block, but oh wait, it's not Subtlety, it's Solitude. So we have Flash and Lifelink, not Flying. So we'll take 1, but at least we've got a Lifelinker out here now that we basically have to send across the table now. because we know it's going to die to the trigger of Flage. Meticulous Archive, Leyline Binding that. Yeah, so that's the thing. Is like sideboard Consign's actually pretty decent against the ley lines if that's their main removal, because it is a an ETB effect. When it enters, then you get to target something. We forgot our surveil for a second there, but our opponent was nice enough to say, hey, you could pitch what you're surveilled, and I was like, yeah, I would have pitched this land. So great, the domain player is like, yeah, if this was like a big tournament fit for $50 that we entry, but we're playing at the local weekly for $5 entry. Like, I'm not worried. Do your thing, right? It's one of those things that, like, that's the kind of stuff that I love when playing at like locals and playing in like a modern tournament or something like that, where players just want to be able to play and have good games with each other. They're I don't know. Yes, it is about winning in some elements of it, but it's also like, hey, let's actually just play the game, right? It's okay. We're here to have fun and play modern. It's not just about winning, which I feel like there's a bit of a stigma sometimes when you think about 60 card format and that, but it's I don't know, Magic. It's Magic, guys. Let's have fun. Let's hang out. But Ketchumos there is enough in Exile, so we're going to keep chipping away with the one. So the Flage could have come in as well and done like a little Helix effect here. Like, you could have sent the team, but, the 4 lifelink probably would have eaten the monkey. So, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily the play, but maybe, because then it still puts the clock, and hoping that we just draw into a ley line or something like that. All right. Send 4 across. 11 all. Teferi coming out. Tap mana correctly. Bounce the Flage, keep that in check for a little bit there. Draw a card. Yeah, so again, lots of cards that we want to be able to draw cards with, or like have ETB effects, but not available at the moment. But our domain player really hurting not getting another land source, because they're like Leyline of the guild pack is stuck in hand, so they are like kind of forcing into like, I don't know, get like they you can see the debate. They want to get that treasure to start to cast their spells, right? Yeah, 1 and 2 again is the split. Pitching Ophelia, play the Solitude. It's like, there's the check. Do we get the trigger off of it? You don't get it. It's only exile off of battlefield and graveyard. So go to blocks. We'll eat the monkey. Gain 3. And both of those die. So 14 to 11 now. And then... all right, Scion, of course. 4/4 flying is pretty scary. So stop playing things that don't ETB. And a deck that's all about blinking things in and out of combat. Emperor Bones is sweet. Move to combat. We'll exile this Solitude underneath. All right, so consign the trigger. We're not going to let that go underneath. Again, like, makes sense. You don't want to, make a 4/4 and then have a solid like there. It's gonna get too weird. Try to keep it in check for now. Ketchmo's gonna help with the life swinginess. And that's the difference between this and like some of the Esper control lists that we've been seeing running around. Is just like the ability to gain some life off of Ketchmos is huge. Another Scion is crazy though. All right, 3 flyers out now. All right. 2 cards in hand. Ketchmos will trigger off of Emperor of the Bones. Draw a card. Down to 17. Yeah, this is a tough one. Lots of like in the tank here when we're like learning the new decks. At least because I'm the one that's piloting it, I can give a little bit more insight into kind of our thought process about things. But oh, a bolt's there. I mean, the bolt, the Emperor, we just kind of adapt in response, and then have a Solitude out. So like, I don't know. That doesn't seem as worth it. But you see the check of like, okay, when can you adapt? Can you adapt to instant speed or sorcery speed? And we like, I know there is that kind of just like panic mode of like, okay, you know, domain players down to 3 life. So how are they going to set themselves up? I mean, a Flage is a great way to do that. No ETB, so it sticks around and then able to sort of pass. But building up a wall here is the big goal. Oh yeah, so the domain player's like, I needed that Ragavan to hit. That Solitude Evoke like definitely got me. I was not, I like missed that line, and I needed that Ragavan to hit. That treasure token was like super important. But that's the real thing that is like, without the treasure and missing the land drops, it has prevented the, you know, Leyline of the Guild Pack from coming down here. Exile a Ragavan here. So there is, I think, another creature. Maybe not. Maybe there are no more creatures. So swing 4. Menace, lifelink. Do some double blocking. Lose one of the Scions. Gain 4 life. I mean, there's still that chance, though, of a land into the Leyline of the Guild Pack, and then it becomes a much better race in favor of the domain player. But hard cast Quantum Riddler does mess things up a little bit here. No ETB, but a 4/6 there is able to block the Scions, so... Worm's Chant. So that gives the option of preventing some attacking next turn. So we can still just kind of, we're in this like buy time mode, right? Looking for that last land. It's tricky. I mean, our opponent's tapped out, so they cannot adapt here. So a bolt is pretty good. Also, just sending the Flage. Trigger, target that, bolt, kill that. Six to 18, 6 more coming across. Orm's Chant. You may not cast spells this turn. Can still activate abilities and can still attack. Play a land. Eat with Emperor of the Bones. Trigger off Ketramos. We draw another card, lose a life. Send 4 across. And still just sort of in that, like, playing slow and methodical. Like, we've got the Emperor of the Bones that we could be able to, you know, flash, basically adapt and bring out a flyer to do some blocking. Oh, Arena of Glory, but that's not the other source of mana we need. We've got all of our red and blue sources here, but we're just like, we're missing it. It says you can just adapt whenever. So yeah, again, if Flage came across, we need it. Yeah, so there we see it's like, okay, I needed a different land, and then we would have had the ley line, and then we get a race, right? Because then the lifelink, you know, trample and lifelink, and really just sort of race. Ooh, okay, tied up 1-1. Going into game 3. The main player said, "This sucks. I'll keep it." Oh no! I mean, I've done that too. Of going, yeah, this doesn't do anything. I'm gonna keep it because I love me some land go magic. It's one of my favorites, and we see a fatal push get. This is a fatal push against 12 drops. Yeah, but the amount of 2 drops that the Domain Zoo list has, where they've got Ragavan, they've got that Thrall card, they've got the Kavu, like, there's a lot more, and even Flage, like, there's a lot more low-cost stuff that we can hit compared to what we can't hit. He says, it's either Thoughtseize turn 1 or Fatal Push turn 1, and it's tough. All right, we go for the Bolt. It says, please discard your hand. Really got to discard 2 cards, so it's the debate of what do we discard here. A land and basically a land. But it doesn't matter because there's the ley line coming out here. So now it's kind of just like fighting over who can land a threat right now. Land go. You love to see it. Both players sort of keeping information close at this point, waiting for something. I mean, actually, to be honest, Stubborn Denial against like a Teferi could be pretty beneficial and could be a nice little blowout there if there was not another land, right? All right, Surveil, keeping it on top, whatever it is. Looks like an Ephemerate that we got there. Well, Stubborn Denial doesn't do anything against that, but Servandum coming out with the sweet art. Another fetch coming out. What are we grabbing here? Yeah, I don't know if this list is specifically having like a different name than like Domain Zoo, but it's like, I don't know, when you're so let me know if it has a different name because of the like anti ETB effects are more prevalent, and I didn't see like that Domain Burn spell when we were just going through it, but hey, here's a Fable the Mirror Breaker. Oh, also here's another Fatal Push to get rid of your token. Attempt to push that. All right, little Gobbo is gone. Push number 2. Here's 2 damage coming across. And low on cards, though, so kind of relying on Sir Vondum to kind of get there. Sire Vondum. I keep wanting to say Sir. Sire? Sire? Sir? No say. All right, Temple Garden is fetched up here, so we pretty much do have access to like all of our colors. Green, white, blue, right? I think that Triumph had access to black as well. Discard 2, draw. There's a Windswept. We have a Doorkeeper Thrall, so we do have access to that. A little bit of fetching. Another Surveil land going to get used here, it looks like. Yeah. Meticulous Archive. Surveil, we'll keep it on top. All right, our opponent's low on cards too, so like this is the thing of like we've seen before where it's usually the Ragavan that's kind of just chipping away at our opponents, but at this point it's the Servandum Sunstar Exemplar putting in the work. But Doorkeeper Thrall going to come out. All right, what are we finding? Which land are we looking for? Hollowed Fountain. Blue, white. I mean, next turn, the Mirror Breaker flips. Yeah, Stubborn Denial. Ugh. All right, so flips. Reflections. We can create a token that's a copy of another target non-legendary creature you control, but it has haste. You get to sack it. So we're going to see the Thrall kind of go in, and we're going to push the Thrall. So why would you take damage then? Yeah, you're right. I don't know. In my brain, it's like I'm always like I don't like to do spells during combat. Like too much of an infect like brain of like don't do stuff in combat. And Quantum Riddler's going to come down, but at that point it's like, oh, okay, you just hard casting this, drawing cards, you're going to run away with it. There's no point. Like we're going into turns. Let's just no, we're not going to do it. But we get to see a little bit here now of what our sideboard options are, what players were able to bring in there. But very tough. Like it definitely is tough when you're a creature-based deck and you're running into just like push after push after push. But there we go. We see some Thoughtseizes coming in. Need to pick up some more because we put our eight rack back together for Atlanta, so players can try out different decks. Check out this fun strategy. That is a nice little tier 2 strategy. All right, to fairies. Yep, some sacrifice effects that are work hopefully well there. But yeah, that is it for that little bit of Esper Blink. We'll be, of course, having more Esper Blink on camera, as well as some more Esper adventures coming up in the future. A little bit, I think that was our only zoo game on camera for a little while, but we'll see if any more pop up in the near future for y'all. But that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for tuning and watching, everyone, and I'll see you all next game.